Recently, there's been a major shift in the Fraser Valley real estate market. With the Bank of Canada making a 0.5% interest rate cut, home sales have increased for the first time in 5 months. And not just by a little bit, but by a pretty substantial amount. So what does this mean as we approach the end of the year and head into 2025? Stay tuned to find out. What's going on, guys? Alex Dunbar here, your favorite local real estate agent based out of the Surrey and Langley areas. And in today's video, I'm going to give you an update on the Fraser Valley real estate market with a focus on Surrey and Langley, what's going on right now, and what things look like heading into the future. So let's dive right into an overview of the most recent stats. So starting us off, we'll take a quick look at the Fraser Valley Real Estate Board news release. So rising home sales, a sign of market shift in the Fraser Valley. So as mentioned, there were 1,330 sales in October, which was up 35% from September and 37% year over year. So there was a significant increase in the number of sales, which is healthy for the market and something we wanted to see. We would probably be in trouble if we saw it decreasing and listings continue to increase. But as you'll see in a minute, that was not the case. So just a quick overview here of the benchmark price activity, which we're going to take a peek at in a minute. Single family detached came in at 1.488 for the benchmark price. This was 0.9% decrease from September and a 0.6% decrease compared to October of 2023. Townhomes, $832,200, which was a 0.3% decrease compared to September and a 1.4% decrease compared to October of last year. Then apartments came in at $543,300 benchmark price and were down 0.3% compared to September of 2024, but they actually increased in comparison to October, the only metric to actually increase. Now, and then we'll just take a quick look at those numbers over here as well. So I actually like to use the median days on market, honestly, because I think it's a better reflection, because you can have certain properties that are just sitting on the market for a long period of time and are going to pull that number up because they're not appropriately priced. But we can see 20 for detached, 20 for townhomes, and 19 for apartments. But just kind of looking back at what they've been in the past, in very busy markets, they are under 2 weeks. Honestly, this is just more of a normal market. We're not expecting properties to be flying off the shelf all the time. It wouldn't be very healthy, to be honest with you. So not upset about this, but just to give you an idea of the potential time frame it would take to sell your property. Now, looking at detached prices for the different markets in Surrey. South Surrey, 1.908 million. Central Surrey, 1.517 million. North Surrey, 1.475 million. And Cloverdale, 1.493 million. Now, looking at their year over year changes, minus 1.6 in South Surrey, minus 2.5% in Surrey, plus 0.1% North Surrey, and plus 2.1% in Cloverdale. Now, what we also want to look at here is the total number of sales. So we can see an increase across all the markets, the biggest in North Surrey. Now, looking at new listings, we can see that there was an increase in most of the markets. Cloverdale actually, again, this is in comparison to the previous year, but more importantly is number of active listings. Did they actually go up? So Cloverdale was the lowest, South Surrey was the highest, and then sales to active listings ratio, which is which properties are moving the quickest. So North Surrey appears to be moving quite a bit quicker than the other markets. Cloverdale also pretty hot in this sense. Honestly, all of them have what we would consider a seller's market based on these numbers, but take that with a grain of salt. Now, looking at townhomes, let's do the same thing. Sales to active listings ratio, Cloverdale moving pretty quick at 49%. North Surrey not too far behind at 39.6%. Now, moving on to townhomes, we can see Cloverdale by far moving the fastest at 53%, and then followed by Central Surrey here. So Cloverdale seems to be in quite a bit of a seller's market for townhomes. However, the other markets, not so much. Now, moving on to apartments, we can see that the sales to active listings ratios were actually down in most markets in comparison to the previous year. Cloverdale way down in this sense. However, looking at the other markets, Central Surrey down quite a bit as well. Only North Surrey was up from this perspective. So just something to keep in mind about where certain property types are selling quicker and for more than others. And this is why you can't just make a general statement about the market, because different property types in different locations are doing different things at different times. So depending on what you're trying to do, that's really going to make all the difference for the recommendations that I would personally give you based on your move, whether it's an upsize, downsize, investment, or whatever that may be. If you'd like to further discuss that, you can book a call with me with the first link in the description. But moving on, let's also take a quick look at Langley. Price point in Langley for detached was down 0.5% year over year, and we can see a slight downtrend as well. Honestly, pretty typical as we start to head to December. Not necessarily a overall honest reflection of the market. Prices just tend to dip as we get into this time of year. Not always, however, just something to keep in mind. Also a great time to get a potential deal. Townhomes down 1.1% and also trending slightly downwards over the past couple of months. Again, pretty standard. And then apartments down 0.5% and honestly pretty level in comparison to the previous month. Now, sales in Langley up almost 34%, so that is good news. New listings were also up though. However, well, in comparison to last year, if we're looking at last month, they were actually down a little bit. Active listings, this is the one that we really want to look at to see, are there more on the market at this point in time in comparison to the previous month? And so just touching back on that topic, actually, going back to the Fraser Valley Real Estate Board as a whole, what we didn't want to see is October higher than September. When we see October have a higher number of overall listings, so now we're at overall listings, that's bad news. Generally, we start to see it decline somewhere around August, September, or October. If we start heading into October and we have an increase in the number of active listings, that means our market is probably headed for trouble. But it is headed downwards, so it is looking a little bit healthier. And I expect to see a ton more listings come off the market in the next couple of months here, whether that is hitting their expiration date on the 31st of December or just before that, or people just pulling it off for the holiday season. Pretty common there. And not everyone always brings it back to market, but you will see a bit of an influx of inventory as we get into January, of course. Now, back to Langley, looking at the sales to active listings ratio, we actually had an increase from the previous month up to 22.1%. So again, showing a little bit stronger activity. This is for apartments. Now, if we're looking at townhouses, looking like a very strong market with 37.5%. That is a pretty strong seller's market. And this is what I've noticed because I've had a lot of clients looking in the townhouse market in Langley, and it seems to be a busier than some of the others. Now, detached homes saw a little bit of an upkick here as well, up from 14 to 18%. This is essentially a balanced market. I think it really depends on the property type and location. So the more affordable stuff seems to be a busier market, whereas the higher end price points definitely aren't getting as much traction. So that kind of summarizes things. As you can see, we are trending in the right direction. However, what does this mean in the near future? Does this mean prices are going up because sales are up? Well, I'm not necessarily sold on that. We're just going to have to see. There's a ton of factors at play, but hopefully this gives you a better idea of what's going on in our market. So what does all of this mean for you? Well, it really depends on your situation. If you're a first-time buyer looking to get into the market, there's definitely some great opportunities out there, as well as if you're an investor. We're still seeing some of the best opportunities in the detached market because of the level of inventory. However, you can also find these deals elsewhere. If you're looking to make an upsize, I think a great move for you could potentially be to list in the first week of January, where there's not going to be very many listings on the market. You're going to be able to drive a higher level of interest to your property, get a great sale price, hopefully extend out your completion date so that you have some time to go out and look in February, March, and potentially even into April when we hit the spring market and there's going to be more inventory on the market. Because what a lot of people think is you should always wait to the spring market because that's going to be the busiest market and the best time to sell. However, I'm hearing more and more of these conversations more than ever before, and I'm honestly a little bit concerned that we may see a flood of inventory at that period of time. Of course, we're going to see a higher buyer demand at the same time. It's really just going to come down to how that balances out. If there's way more listings that come to the market than there are buyers, this isn't going to necessarily be the best market for sellers. But it's really hard to say because we have many other factors at play as well. We're expected to have potentially another 0.5% interest rate cut by the Bank of Canada before the end of the year. And as we head into the spring market, this could be another 0.25, 0.5, 0.75, maybe even another full percent. I don't think we'll get quite that far, but obviously this will have some sort of an impact on buyers as well. And for downsizers, honestly, if you have the ability to, I would wait it out a little bit longer, wait until the market picks up, because you're going to be in that property type, that price point that is going to be most affected, in my opinion, where you're moving from a larger, more expensive property type into something that's on the lower end. And so by doing so, you actually want to sell as close to the peak of the market versus somebody who's upsizing. You'd actually rather prefer to buy and sell in a down market. But at the end of the day, it really comes down to your unique situation. Real estate isn't black and white. These are just general recommendations, and whatever is going on in your life is far more important. So if you'd like to continue this conversation and explore your options to see what could potentially work best for you, you can scroll down and hit the first link in the description to book a call with me at a time that works best for you. Thanks so much for watching. Make sure you check out another video on my channel before you get out of here, and we'll see you in the next video.